Good evening, everybody. My name is Marshall. I'm a person in long-term recovery, which means I have found it necessary to use anything, money, women, drugs, 30-something years. And I'm happy about that.
That's a good hit.
I got a happy life.
Yeah,
I got a happy life without the use of anything, you know? And, man, I picked a topic tonight. Just to talk about, and it won't be long. We'll eventually get out of here, you know, on time, you know. The topic that I wanted to talk about, man, was finding a way out. Finding a way out. We all have a way out, you know. What comes along with that is making the right choice. I'm talking to this guy. It's making the right choice, making a good decision. In the past, we thought we had a way out, and we compounded that by making a bad decision. Compounding it by making a bad decision. 12-step book that I read says that in order to get some long-term recovery, you got to be able to deal with problems. You got to be able to deal with problems. Most of the people that leave here, they're going to have some problems. We had problems before we picked up. We're going to continue to have problems. Using compounds those problems. What we're not going to do today is we're not going to compound those problems one day at a time, you know? So we want to think about that, you know? This is what we got this for. We got to use this. The whole time we are coming here to change the nature and the process of our thinking. You know? Rely on somebody that has done this before. So many of us have come to the conclusion that I know what's best for me. Live long enough, and you understand that that's optional. You don't always know what's best for you. And I mean, for me and a whole lot of other people, what becomes problematic when somebody take away your options. You got to do this or you got to do this. And I don't have any options, you know? But I know, I have lived it. That, man, whenever we get our back against the wall, for whatever reason, I don't care, there's always a crack somewhere, which is an out. You know, relationships. If you're in a toxic relationship, what do? I mean, it's a crack there. It's a crack there for us to get out. Some of us say, oh, it'll change without me doing any work. It'll change, you know. When we get caught up, with using drugs, there's a crack there for us to get out. And we constantly give ourselves these unbelievable messages where it ain't gonna happen to me. I ask myself all the time, I used to, what if I had known the real impact of addiction before I picked up? Would I have picked up? What if I had that military foresight as to what was going to happen with me? How people come in here, man, and lose their family, you know, lose their kids, lose their job, you know, still thinking like, you know, it ain't going to happen to me, you know? And I mean, a whole lot of times we talked about changing and doing something different, you know? And then we'll say, how? How do I do that? How do I do that? One of the ways I did it was through a 12-step program. You can pick your own pathway, but a 12-step program, I'm an advocate for that. Because, man, you know why? Because a 12-step program, John mentioned it early part of the day, man. gives you an opportunity to do some follow-up. You get clean today, 30 days from now, you're doing follow-up. A year from now, you're doing follow-up. 35 years from now, 40 years like John, you still doing follow-up. And that's the process, man, to continuously keep us clean. And I understand somebody that don't have but 30 days, you wonder what the hell they doing. They've been here 30 and 35 years. What the hell wrong with them? You know what I'm saying? Are they still sick and suffering? You know what I'm saying? They may not be suffering, but they still sick. You know what I'm saying? You know, we have sick thoughts, man. You know what I'm saying? And what do we do with them? You know, man, we can go to a 12-step program. We can go to a 12-step program. And we can work the 10th step on a daily basis. I loved it when I saw that. I saw, programs adopted that. I adopted it myself a long time ago. Continuing to take personal inventory. And when we were wrong, I promptly admitted it. Even in relationships with my kids, with my wife, hey, never say I'm sorry. My wife said, look, he got a problem with saying he's sorry. That used to be my old way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? I used to give a half-hearted, oh, well, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? No, say it like you mean it. I want to hear it from your heart. I ain't know anything about that. The language of the heart. You know what I'm saying? Didn't know anything about that, And then I started recognizing that in other people. Give me a bullshit, I'm sorry. You ain't mean that. You know what I'm saying? But, my original topic, man, we got a way out. We got a way out and don't even realize it, don't even understand it, and don't even use it. We got resources, man, that we don't even use, man. When I look at how this thing was put together, the same thing about, man, I'm still enamored about the 12-step program. And I've researched it. Harvard, Yale, the upper scholars in our country said the best way to recover is through a 12-step program. Best way to recover is through a 12-step program, because we constantly, man, have to take a look at ourselves, I mean, I've seen so many people get a year, 2 years clean, come in here and stay for 18 months, 2 years, and come to the conclusion, I don't have a problem. The problem got you here. You didn't do anything while you were here, but all of a sudden, I don't have a problem. We didn't look at ourselves, man. I love looking at who I am today, because I understand if I run into a problem, man, I got a way out, man. I think so many times, man, I was behind in the rent, then I'm going to take the money and shoot it up. Is that the way out? Or to say, well, damn, let me just hold on to this, and then once I get some more money, I'll be able to pay the rent. But that ain't how I was thinking. You know what I mean? Today, man, I look for the way out. I mean, it comes up several times, man. For me, I got a decision to make, man. I got 2 or 3 things going on at the same time. I got to make a decision, so that it won't become problematic. Make a decision. Be a man about it. Whatever it is that you got, deal with a problem, And man, I'll tell you, the 12-step program for me has allowed me to grow up. Has allowed me to grow up. Stop acting like a child, and live a life, man. Live a life, man. One of the things I said about having that crack, having that opening, man, when you leave here, is the McShin program. You can go to the McShin program, man. Come in there, man, and I heard people share this, some of us have a spiritual awakening before we get here. And that's good. That's good. Just understanding that I need some help. The McShin program is available for those that don't know what they're doing, don't know what they want to do, that need some help. Just so happened tonight, we got one of the co-founders of the program here. With that, I give you John S. Woo. John, I like that shirt you got.
Yeah. Lord, I love you, man.
Yeah, love you,
so
man.
Great for you in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. John, sitting there thinking, going way back, I remember when I first got clean and how small the meetings were. My clean date's August 10th, 1982. I'm really glad you come down here tonight. And I was thinking, we go to any lengths to stay clean and help people. Every week we come up into the jail, we do our meeting. The jail does a really good job bringing the inmates that are allowed to come down. And I can remember during my journey, we get home groups in NA. And every week you support your home group. And for 10 years, my home group was Sunday nights over at Chippenham. But there's one night in the year that's not a very busy night. Because every year on Sunday night, there's a big event that takes place that a lot of people tune into the TV, Super Bowl Sunday, right? I remember one Super Bowl Sunday, I had a speaker coming in from Charlottesville. He came all the way from Charlottesville to be the Sunday night speaker. And it was me, Order. And I think they might have had the coffee maker there. I'm not sure. But he come up in, and normally we have 100 people, right, on Sunday night. And I said, man, I don't know what happened. I guess, Super Bowl. And last few years, pre-COVID, I would go around the country for my work, but I always made it a point to try to speak at a jail or prison. I've been in 46 different states speaking in jails and prisons. And me and my wife were on vacation one summer, a few years back, down in, I think it was Hope, Alabama. Now, I love my wife. I love the vacations, but, a week, I get bored. And I go to meetings wherever I go. And I noticed they had a jail close to where we were staying. And I never spoke in Alabama. So I went, it was a, old county city jail, not very big, And I went into the jail and I talked to the officer in charge and I explained my situation, that I'm in recovery. I'm here on vacation. I got a couple days. If you can allow it, I'd love to come in and speak to any inmates that might have a problem with addiction and how I can help. I'm a hope dealer. I can talk them about stopping using drugs, losing desire, and finding a new way to live. But the guy was pretty cool with that. He said, well, let me run it up the chain. And he took my number and he called me that night and said, yeah, the warden said, we got a guy you can talk to. I said, man, that's great. So I go back the next day, and in the jail, it's a small jail. They only had like 17 inmates in the whole jail at the time. It might have held 30 total. But there was one young kid in there, 20-something, in and out of trouble. But he said he'd be glad to listen to me. And so they put us in the laundry room. The washers and dryers, that's the only spot they had was the laundry room. It was just me and him. We cut the washer and dryer off. I stayed 2 hours and 45 minutes. Now, we had a great time, a great talk. He told me all about his life and how he keeps going to jail and drugs and alcohol. And I shared my experience, strength, and hope. But here's the message in this. Out of all these years and all these events and all this willingness on my part to fulfill my commitments, there's a common denominator here. 41 and a half years later, I'm still clean and sober, still getting to do this stuff. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm so glad. It's Carl, right? I'm so glad you said, yeah, I'll go. Who wants to sit in the what do you call it up there? The pod all night when you got all these wonderful outsiders in recovery coming down here. You got a team up in here tonight. We're pulling for you. We want you to get what we got. Freedom from active addiction. Me and Marshall, I know Marshall for 35 years. He's known me. We live a blessed life. Matter of fact, I hear Marshall talk, and I'm thinking, I wonder if Brenda talks to my wife, because they got to be just alike. Because sometimes if my I'm sorry don't come across right, it takes 2 days to complete a sorry. And it's like it can be brutal around there. You know, what I think's a misdemeanor ends up being a class 5 felony or some shit. But, you know, and I'm glad I get to come here on Tuesday nights. And I hope as long as I'm healthy and can do it, I'm in. You know what I mean? And I'm glad you're here. And our speaker, Derick, I mean, he's one badass speaker, man. Let me tell you, I'm excited to hear the guy. Not only that, see, I'm hard of hearing. So I know I'm going to hear every word. So I'm hanging on, you know, to what he's got to say, because it just, when people share the experience, strength, I get fired up, man. And when I can hear it without distraction, I get more fired up. So this is your lucky night, whether you know it or not. I mean, if I were you, I'd you know, and I say this often. How does a 23-year-old Marine in between his second, third deployment, being arrested 12 times, 4 times in foreign country, with no desire to live at all, 41 and a half years later, I just lived a blessed life in recovery? How can that happen? And I can only come to the conclusion that somewhere along the line, I got to be a chosen one, because it wasn't my choice. Somebody chose it for me, something bigger than me. So if I feel like I'm a chosen one, and if you're hearing the message tonight, that kind of makes you a chosen one too. And Derick's the chosen one to come up in here and fire us up. So let's give a warm welcome for Derick. Rip. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Hey, family, I'm Derick.
Hey, Derick.
And truly grateful to be here. Truly grateful to be here. And I want to say John misspoke a little bit, because he said that you're blessed, right, for having me come speak, right? But from my understanding, my experience, right, the only way I can keep what I have is by giving it away. So I'm the one that is blessed to be able to come carry the message of recovery to you as it was carried to me when I got here. My clean date is November 25th, 1998. Thank you. And that's a little bit over 25 years, one day at a time, doing this, staying clean, right? And Marshall talked about the topic as being finding a way out, right? And I want to, and I hope that my story is like embodies that topic, that message of finding a way out. Because I was 28 years old when I found recovery, right? I don't know if I was looking for it or anything, right? But I wanted something different than how I was living, where my life had really taken me at 25, you know, and the things that I had in life, like didn't, like I was given, you know, we were poor, but we had love and we had principles. And I was given some things that was totally opposite of how my life like turned out, right? And, you know, since being here, I had to get in touch with, why did I think using drugs was the answer in the first place, right? And looking back at my life and my story and the way I was thinking, like I stopped using at 28, but the seed was planted, the way of thinking, like those ideas of, and the thing about self-hatred and abandonment and low self-esteem, all those things just really just circulated in my young life. So I was going to end up where I ended up, right? And at 28, when I get here, you know, I've been to college. You know, I got a bachelor's degree in mathematics. I grew up in church. You know what I mean? I was a junior missionary, Boy Scout, collected cans, helped old ladies cross the street. I did all of them good things, right? That my grandmother, that who raised me, was trying to give me, right? But based on being raised by my grandmother, right? It was always this feeling of, well, why I'm not with my mother? Why I'm not with my daddy? You know, and I come from an old South Carolinian family that always believed in telling the baby the truth. They thought, like, give them a dose of the truth, that'll help make them strong, right? And I remember being roughly about 8 years old, and I spent a lot of time with an aunt and uncle, but my mother and 2 sisters, they lived down the street. And I used to be like, why I don't live with them, right? You know, why? And my aunt, you know, I remember her one day telling me that, you know, your mother didn't want you, right? You know, your father didn't want you, right? That's how I end up being raised by my grandmother and my uncle, right? Now, I don't know what she expected to accomplish by that, right? But at 8 years old, how can I process this type of information? Like, you are basically telling me that the people who brought me into this world didn't want me, right? So that's my whole idea about, like, because it's kind of lining up with when I'm in school, when I'm in elementary school, and y'all picking teams for kickball. Like, I got on church shoes and I got thick glasses, and y'all picking me last. Y'all not picking me first. And when we go to the school dance, I'm trying to have some courage and ask the little girls to dance with me. Little girls won't dance with me. And so I put that together with my aunt telling me that your mother didn't want you. Your daddy didn't want you. Right? So I'm going to spend my whole life always looking for somebody who would want me, somebody who would protect me, somebody who would stand up for me, somebody who would be there for me, right? But before that happened, I need some to help make that idea concrete. So I was visiting my mother, and she was working on her second marriage, and her husband had two sons. And I was a little dude, wore glasses, big lips, no fight game. I told you I was a church boy, right? That was me. That's who I am, right? And her husband got two roughhouse sons from Baltimore, right? And they roughhousing. And as a little kid, you do what the teachers told you to do. The teacher said when you're in trouble, you're supposed to go tell a guardian to protect you. So I'm following the instructions that was given to me. I want to go in the house. I said, I'm going to tell my mama. And before I could say, Mom, she stopped me and said, I'm not your mother. She said, your grandmother is your mother, right? And all I wanted her to do was just tell him to stop. I didn't ask for that. I just want her to tell him, leave him alone. That's all. And so now, piece together what my aunt said and what she said and how y'all treating me, right? All that come together. We talking about the birth of low self-esteem, inadequacies, right? Where I always feel different. I don't feel a part of, right? So I'm always going to be looking for a way to get in. I want to find a way so I can hang out with y'all. I can be with y'all. I can laugh with y'all. I feel protected. I feel secure with y'all, with somebody, because I don't feel like I have it naturally within myself because of that, right? So I'm going to spend my life like always attaching the big boys in the neighborhood, man. And when you a little dude who ain't got no fight game, man, big boys take advantage of little boys in neighborhoods. So I'm that little boy, right, who just didn't like himself, right? Because now I'm coupled with those feelings. Now I got secrets that I swear to God I ain't gonna ever tell anybody this stuff. Can't ever tell anybody this stuff right here, right? So it's inevitable. It's inevitable that I try to find something to soothe that pain, right? Something else to become my best friend, because I don't trust people, right? Because when I hang out with guys, y'all hurt me. So I'd rather run. I'm gonna run with the girls, and then when I run with the girls, you pick on me, you tease me for running with the girls, right? Because I feel safer in that space. And God willing, man, I made it to college. You know, and the thing about all of this stuff, man, like I've been watching these movies lately, and these characters like that's going through these movies, I'm realizing sometimes you just don't know a person's story. You can't look at an individual and know their background, what hell they may have been through, or they've had the courage to get to that point, right? And so I was one of them because I kept it to myself. I kept it to myself. And so when I go to college, I went to college in South Carolina, right? Because I don't like me, I adopt your story. I adopt your story. I take pieces of your story and I create a guy. Oh, I go to South Carolina and I tell people, oh, they call me Gucci from Richmond. I'm telling Blackwell stories. I'm telling Jackson Ward stories. I'm telling stories of other individuals who I think are better than me because I'm not okay with me. So the person I create got it. Y'all like the person I create. But unfortunately, you have to start walking in that character that you create. So if I create a guy named Gucci, every time you see me, I got a lights, camera, action. I got to be him. And then being him, I can't be me. I can't be me. I can't tell you that I really like school. I really like math. You know, I wanted to be a soul train dancer. I can't tell you those intimate parts of me because I begin to bury that part of me with the use of drugs and alcohol in my life. But I think I'm okay because yeah, I'm in college and all this other stuff. But then I found myself in college on the top bunk with a roommate underneath of me, man, with cocaine and a spoon. I find myself borrowing somebody's car, riding out looking for the people in the projects in South Carolina. So y'all talking about geographical cures. What I realized, I took me with me. No matter where I went, I took me with me. Right? Oh, I had everybody possible trying to help me. Right? And so I'm one of them guys. Yeah, I went to college, but I think it took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree because every time I came home for Easter break or summer break, I couldn't get back to school. I couldn't get back. And then one time my friends come to get me, and they try to do some old country remedy, right? Because I'm on one drug, they're gonna send me deep down in the country and tell me to use another drug to help me get off of this drug, and now I'm gonna add to the mix. I'm gonna add to the mix, right? And so I used to think that before I realized that took me with me, I used to think that Richmond was my problem. Because most of all of these behaviors, all these things I talk about, a lot of stuff was happening in Richmond, right? I couldn't see the connection that I was taking me with me, right? Until I showed up, man. I had the relationship. I did, you know, I thought I had this life. I thought I was going to be like this mathematician. I was going to save my family from poverty. I'm going to do all these things because I'm the first in my family to go to college. I'm thinking I'm going to do all these things. I got the weight of the world on my shoulders, man, but I don't like me in the process. But I don't like me. You know, that's a tough place to be, man, when you can't stand the person who's skin you in every day, that you can't even look yourself in the mirror. Right? Every day, right? And I remember, right, as I like when I got to the end of this thing, man, like this family, my girlfriend, I'm in South Carolina, man, they sent me back to Richmond. They sent me back to Richmond with $20 in my suitcase, right? I didn't eat at the transfer bus station. I ain't do nothing. That $20, I had to make it way back to Richmond. Right? And I carry on, right? And so in 1998, in November of 98, my grandmother, right, she retired and she blind. And she got her check at the first of the month. And so this thing that's in between my ears say, you only want one. You only want to get one. How about you crawl across the floor and go in her pocketbook? Because you know if you come at an angle, she can't see you. So of course I listened to my thinking, and I crawl across the floor and I get her pocketbook and I say, I'm just gonna get one. And then some say, you know what, go get the pocketbook and get enough for two. And then you can work it and put the money back before she wake up. Then the next thought was, damn it, just get the pocketbook and keep the pocketbook in the living room with you, right? See, I'm talking about I suffer from a disease that don't care, right? I'm talking about self-centered. I didn't care if she paid rent, if she ate, if she would pay the electric bill, right? That the disease I suffer from only said me, more. And at the end, it didn't work. And I found myself at a friend's house, right? At a friend's house, sitting on the edge of the bed crying, right? Because this was actually, to me, like the last house on the block. I had nowhere else to go, right? That all them dreams and stuff I had about saving my family, all that stuff was smoke now, right? And I cried out. Like Marshall talking about finding a way out, right? But in order for me to find a way out, I had to get to a place where I surrender, where I throw my hands up and I say, damn it, I just can't do this. Because as long as I got like a thought that I could possibly do this on my own, I can't find a way out when I'm trapped in my own thinking. I found out that my thinking is not my friend. And when I surrendered, I threw my hands up, man, and another junkie took me to the program, dropped me off. And that's when I heard that you ain't got to use no matter what. Even if you want to, you ain't got to use, right? And they told me, you're going to have to change people, places, and things, Derick. Really? 95% of my using is at my grandma's house in the back room with my relatives. You can't go back to your grandma's house. You can't hang in that back room. You can't be hanging out with them relatives, right? And I thought y'all ain't know what y'all was talking about. So as soon as I get a pass, you know where I go. I go right back to grandma's house. And then I see my cousin. And the first one free. And right then I'm faced with a dilemma. What is there left to do, right? And I said, but damn it, these people, maybe they know what they're talking about. And I ran and I came back and I raised my hand, right? Because I'm talking about, I'm surrendering, right? I'm trusting and believing in this way out that I hear y'all talking about. I hear you guys talking about getting out and your life is changing, right? Not the material stuff, right? I wasn't fascinated with the fact that you had a car and some jewelry, right? Because I saw a guy that I knew from the neighborhood, right? That I knew from the neighborhood. And he was working in the facility. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing here? He said, I work here. I said, you work here? He said, yeah. He said, and I've been clean for 3 years. And I hadn't heard anybody saying work, let alone clean, with a number for 3 years, right? And so he was like what I call my hope shot. He was the individual that I started seeing something different in him. So now I start believing just possibly, just maybe something can work for me. What's working for him would possibly work for me. So I listen to you guys. I got some guidance through the program. I got a sponsor. I needed somebody to guide me because all my life I had been listening to me and I thought I was smarter than the average bear, but I always found myself cracked out of my mind, somewhere stuck in the corner, peeping out a window when I listened to me. So I started listening to somebody else, right? And Marshall also mentioned the 12 steps of recovery, right? I immediately started embarking on the 12 steps, right? I didn't understand. I didn't know what it was going to do for me, right? But it had to be something different and better than what I was doing for myself. And so I slowly started working my way through these 12 steps. And with each of these steps, I started feeling better about just Derick. So like today, I'm not a fan of nicknames because every nickname that I had, it was a character that went along with me. So today I embrace just being Derick. I don't have to be D, Gucci, Mr. I ain't got to be none of them names, none of those people, right? That is like one of the greatest gifts that I've been given since being in this program. It's me. It's me. I don't have to attach myself to people that I really don't like, laughing at jokes that's not funny, and doing things that I don't want to do. I don't have to do that anymore, right? And in this process, y'all ask me stuff like, well, Derick, what is it you like to do? What you like to do? Nobody had really asked me my entire life, what is it that you like to do? Right? Because I would reflect back and I remember being a little boy and I would be on the floor with the coloring book talking about the things I want to do when I become big, right? You remember when you was growing up, you wanted to be a policeman. Well, I don't know, some of y'all ain't want to be a policeman, but you want to be a policeman or a doctor or a fireman. I remember stuff like that. I remember looking at PBS as a child and seeing documentaries on Albert Einstein and seeing all this math stuff on the board. And I was like enamored by that because I didn't understand it. So that means I want to learn it. And that's why when I went to school, I majored in math. And so I started like, what did you want to be? And so I began on a pursuit through recovery because the drugs are no longer in the picture. I'm the only thing that can stop me from being who I want to be, right? And so I went back to school in this process. I went back to school. I shared with y'all like what I want to do, right? And I became a teacher. I became a teacher in this process, right? And as a teacher, I still brought like this program with me because like addiction don't hit you when you're an adult, right? The process starts early in life. Right? They told me if you spot it, you got it. So I always had an open door policy and allowed my classroom to be a safe space that kids could come in, right? That kids could come in. And I would find ways to carry the message with them and see some kids find recovery in this program, right? And because I'm doing something that I love to do, that I'm finding myself in this whole recovery process, right? I talked to the vice principal at the school, and he was the first African American like doctor that I ever met. I had never met a guy who was like, a scholar. And I remember telling him, I said, I want to go back to school. I want to go back to school. And one day they called me to the office. School called me to the office. And I go down to the office and there's other teachers in the school and they present me with a check. They hand me a check for one class, right? That they planted a seed in me, right? They believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. So that's the stuff we get in recovery. Somebody believe in you when you don't believe in yourself, right? We tell you, look, man, if you stop getting high, you can do anything you want to do. Go do it. Go do it. Now, if you do it, come back and tell us. Tell us how it worked. Tell us how you did it, right? And them colleagues handed me a check to pay for one class. And from that one class of somebody believing in me, I enrolled in 2 colleges simultaneously, right? Left Richmond, finished up, and had a master's degree, right? Now that's only happened because I surrendered, found a way out, and started putting in the work. I had to put in the work. I can't put the books under my pillow and get it by osmosis. I have to start doing some things different, right? I had to start doing some things different. And so I did that. And once I did that, that opened up so many more opportunities for me across this city of what I was trying to do. And then I was invited to go back to school again to get a second master's. And I'm talking about in recovery that I went back to school. I got a master's in education. I went back and got a master's in mathematics. Got a master's in mathematics. And I'm talking about, in doing this, I continued to make meetings in recovery. I continue to work with my sponsor. I continue to be sponsored. I continue to give back what was so freely given to me. Because if I ever forget those things, all of this other stuff I'm doing, I'll lose it. I don't mix up the order of my priorities. And once I finished that, I went back to school for the final time. I got a PhD in statistics, mathematics, operations research, right? That you talking about a junkie who at 28 years old crawled across the floor to rob his blind grandmother of all she had, was funded to go to school by NASA. Remember, I told you when I was a little kid, I was on the floor, I was with my little coloring book, and I was looking at Albert Einstein and all these equations. I had finally got to the place in my life where I understood the equations, that I understood all the symbols and exactly what he was talking about, right? that lost dreams are awakened and new possibilities arise. All of that happened because I gave myself a chance. I gave myself a chance, right? I started listening to other men because I didn't know. I had to tell myself, Derick, you do not know how to live without messing up your life, without screwing something up. And when I started doing that, y'all taught me how to love myself. Y'all said, Derick, let us love you until you learn how to love yourself. In the beginning, that stuff went over my head. I thought I loved myself. But if I loved myself, I wouldn't keep hurting myself. I wouldn't do the things. I wouldn't sell myself like I did if I truly loved myself. So when I love myself, I started doing loving acts for myself, right? But I got to stay clean. I got to stay clean, right? That this process has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams, right? And when I tell you about the PhD, I'm the first African American in the history of VCU to ever get that PhD, a triple PhD in all mathematical sciences.
You did the math.
Yeah, I did that. I had more research money than the history of any mathematical science student. Even some professors, I had more research money. I won awards for the research that I did, right? And y'all, and the people in recovery always came to celebrate with me because I never forgot like where it come from. I never think that I did anything alone. I never did anything alone. Everything I've been through in recovery, you guys have walked me through it. You walked me through the good times. You walked with me through the bad times, right? That grandmother that I stole from, right? In her last years, I was her power of attorney. I spoke for her, right? I spoke for her. The grandson that stole everything from her. She trusted me with her life and her decisions. And when she closed her eyes, all the people at recovery took over the services, and y'all did everything for me. Y'all did everything for me, right? That I'm no longer alone. I no longer feel like that little 8-year-old boy who felt like some people didn't want him, that he didn't love him, that he has to do things right outside of himself to just belong. I found out today that y'all like me just as I am. Like you just as you are. Just be you. Just be you. As socially awkward as you may feel, just be you. Because we all got it. We all got it, right? Listen, I'm going to keep coming. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, right? I ain't got to do nothing extra. Just keep it simple. I just keep it simple. I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, right? I just stay just for the day. I stay just in the day. Tomorrow will take care of itself. It'll do that. So I'm gonna get out here. I want to thank McShin for having me to come out and just to share just a little bit of my story, and I hope that it helps at least one person, right? At least one person that lost dreams awaken, new possibilities arise. Only person that's in your way is you, right? The only person that's in your way. So give yourself a chance, and I'll keep coming back. Thank you.
Yeah, you the bomb, Bubba. Damn, boy. You got any questions?
Any questions, man?
Think you can do this? You motivated, fired up? I tell you what, it's your lucky night. You're going to go up in there. Maybe Pam will let you take some of them donuts back up in there. We'll ask her. But they're going to know all about what took place down there when they see you elevating up in there, man.
Yeah. Hey, take a couple of donuts and wave them in their face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you had to be present to get them. Yeah.
A lost opportunity.
Right. Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
One day at a
Derek.
time.
Good job, man.
Thank
I'm
you,
proud
Derek.
of you.
Thank
All
you,
right, we'll be here next week. 2 weeks we'll be here. Next week at the other spot.
Thank you, bro.
Hey, Derek, when can you come to East, man?
Oh, let's get him down there quick.
Yeah, when can you come to East?
We
Yeah,
do.
East.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just reach out and check my calendar.
Okay, check it. You know, 'cause we like to have
We
you
be
too.
there next week. We go there every other week. We come here every other week.
Uh-huh.
I ain't, this is very unusual to get one man, but it's great though, man. It worked
goes
out the way
from
it's
one
supposed to.
Like 150.
Yeah, I mean, I've been down there before,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's.
Have you been down there with us?
No.
Oh
I went
man,
down with H&R.
we do the ride down.